Well, Uncle President Joe Biden seems to be aware of what's going on with GameStop, and, well, the White House is not entirely impressed. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur. Welcome to today's second video. It's our second video. I'm not a crook. That's just a very, very random thing. You'll probably understand why I'm doing that in a minute. Anyway, let's continue to talk about this crazy GameStop stock, AMC stock. I don't know where it's at now, although as I film this, GameStop stock has taken a little bit of a dip today. It got as high as, I think, 370. It's now trading at 293. I'd like to say this is the end of it, but who knows? Also, AMC got as high as 22 today. It seems to be ending at about 1481. Well, okay, that's still kind of going on. But, so this is a very interesting situation. Now, I've already explained in previous videos exactly what's going on, but just to summarize in case you were not aware, basically what's happening is there are a bunch of Redditors who figured out how to game the stock market. They saw a bunch of wealthy investors buying short stocks on companies that, in all fairness, were certain to fail at one point. And basically, the vast majority of small investors decide they want to push back on the 1% that is taking out loans to basically profit on these companies going under, and they have made the stock ridiculously expensive. Now, on one hand, they have given these companies some breathing room, potentially. We'll talk about that in a minute. But here's one thing they certainly do. They caused a bunch of millionaire/billionaire/large hedge funds to lose a lot of money to scramble and sell their stocks. In fact, here's the story from the Seattle Times. In duel with small investors over GameStop, big funds blink. So this is going to go over some very similar situation that we've gone over in previous week's videos and even maybe today's video from earlier. But, it's worth going over again. So anyway, across most of America, GameStop is just a place, no, I don't want to sign up, to buy a video game. On Wall Street, though, it's become a battleground where swarms of smaller investors see themselves making an epic stand against the 1%. The funds serving the financial elite are starting to walk away in defeat. Big bets they made that GameStop stock would fall went wrong, leaving them facing billions of dollars in collective losses. All the wild action pushed GameStop stock as high as $380 on Wednesday, up from $18 just a few weeks ago. The stunning seizure of power gives some validation to smaller pocketed investors, many of whom are encouraging each other on Reddit and are trading stocks for the first time thanks to brokerages offering free trading apps, including Robinhood, which, by the way, if you aren't trading on Robinhood, sign up below. You will get a free stock, including potentially Facebook or Apple. Just got to throw that out there. Anyway, it's also left more investors on Wall Street asking if the stock market is in a dangerous bubble about to pop, as AMC Entertainment, Bed Bath & Beyond, and other downtrodden stocks suddenly soar as well. The S&P 500 set a record high early this week, though it fell Wednesday. Yes, it did. Just to kind of let you know what's going on, I started the day really early at like a $1,300 gain, and now I'm at a almost $400 loss. So yeah, that sounds about right. Let's see here. The two investment firms that had placed bets for money-losing GameStop stock to fall have essentially thrown in the towel. One, Citron Research, acknowledged Wednesday in a YouTube video that it unwound the majority of its bet and took a loss 100% to do so. But Andrew Left, who runs Citron, said that does not change his view that GameStop stock will eventually go down. And I agree with him, by the way. I don't think at these prices it's sustainable, and we'll talk about why in a minute. We move on, he said. Nothing has changed with GameStop except the stock price. He also said he has respect for the market, which can run stock prices up much higher than where critics say they should be, at least for a while. And by the way, he's saying that because, he's putting on a poker face. He doesn't want to be a sore loser, but trust me, he's very pissed right now. Melvin Capital is also exiting GameStop, with manager Gabe Plotkin telling CNBC that the hedge fund was taking a significant loss. He denied rumors that the hedge fund will fail, The size of the losses taken by Citron and Melvin are unknown, but I'm sure at some point we will have to know them. Before its recent explosion, GameStop stock had been struggling for a long time. The company has been losing money for years as sales of video games increasingly go online, and its stock fell for 6 straight years before rebounding in 2020. That pushed many professional investors to make bets that GameStop stock will decline even further. In such bets, called short sales, investors borrow a share and sell it in hopes of buying it back later at a lower price and pocketing the difference. GameStop is one of the most shorted stocks on Wall Street. But its stock began rising sharply earlier this month after a co-founder of Chewy, the online seller of pet supplies, joined the company's board. The thought is that he could help in the company's transformation as it focuses more on digital sales and closes brick-and-mortar stores. Its shares jumped to $19.94 from less than $18 January 11th. At a time, it seemed like a huge move for the stock. Smaller investors were meanwhile exhorting each other online to keep GameStop stock rolling higher. The ranch's discussions are full of sarcasm, self-deprecation, and emojis of rocket ships signifying belief that GameStop stock will fly to the moon. Now, here's a comment, and I want to highlight this because this is where the vast majority of you are going to find yourselves in if you get into this, by the way. What is an actual rational selling point above 200, 500, so I don't have to watch this ticker every second until Friday/Monday, one user wrote in a Reddit discussion Tuesday afternoon as GameStop soared. I have no idea what I'm doing, adding that they had other things to do. Here's a little bit of a tip. This is not financial advice. I have to preface every video. I'm sorry, I know you don't want to hear that. This is not financial advice, but here's common sense advice. If you don't know what you're doing, you probably shouldn't be putting real money down on it. That's just a thought. In fact, I'm going to go. Here's the thing. I want to stress this once more. If you do not know what you are doing, do not put money down on things, all right? That is foolish. Anyway, let's continue. There is no overriding reason why GameStop has attracted this cavalcade of smaller and first-time investors, but there is a distinct component of revenge against Wall Street and communications online. One Reddit user wrote, "The same rich people that caused the market to crash in 2007 and 8 are still in power and continue to manipulate the market to get even richer. We are just taking back our fair share." Another user wrote, "Hey mom, I can't come up for dinner. I'm bankrupting a 10-figure hedge fund with the boys." Beyond personal attacks, the battle has also created big financial losses for Wall Street players who shorted GameStop stock. As GameStop's gains grew and short sellers scrambled to get out of their bets, they had to buy shares to do so. That accelerated the momentum even more, creating a feedback loop. That's ironic. Basically, to get out of their money-losing bets, they had to buy more stock, which made the stock go higher. Gotta love that. As of Tuesday, short sellers of GameStop were already down more than $5 billion in 2021. Much of professional Wall Street remains pessimistic that GameStop stock can hold on to immense gains. For the record, I'm very pessimistic about that. The stock closed Wednesday at $347.51. Analysts at BofA Global Research raised their target price Wednesday to $10. And at $10, I will probably buy GameStop stock again. All the mania is raising some concern that investors are taking excessive risk, and reporters asked Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell on Wednesday whether the Fed's moves to support markets through the pandemic is helping to push stocks too high. Powell downplayed the role of low interest rates and pointed to investors' expectations for COVID-19 vaccinations and more stimulus from Washington for the economy as drivers for record stock prices. The Securities and Exchange Commission said Wednesday that it's noticed all the volatility in the market, though it did not name GameStop specifically. The agency said it's, quote, working with our fellow regulators to assess the situation and review the activities. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, here's what it means. It means Uncle President Joe Biden and his staff are officially monitoring the situation, and don't be surprised if legislation comes soon. This is a very, very brief article, but then we're going to talk about this in most detail. The White House and Treasury Department are monitoring the situation involving GameStop and other companies that have seen sharp gains on the stock market. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, I think it's Psaki, said on Wednesday. Shares of both GameStop and AMC Entertainment Holdings more than doubled on Wednesday, forcing hedge funds to take heavy losses and sparking calls for scrutiny of anonymous stock market trading posts on social media. Because again, whenever a rich person gets in trouble, they go to Uncle Sam. Jen said the U.S. stock market was not the only measure of the health of the economy, and President Joe Biden was continuing to press for approval of a $1.9 trillion economic recovery package to aid working and middle-class families. So here's what's basically going on. A lot of what's going on right now is, I think, twofold. People like GameStop, despite all the hate that they get, and they like AMC, they like Bed Bath & Beyond. These stocks are cheap, and they find out that a bunch of rich people are betting on them to fail. But people don't want them to fail, and for that matter, they're getting tired of millionaires making a lot of money on these companies failing. So what do? They push back on these investors, and the smaller investors outweigh the 1% by a huge margin. And as a result, these hedge funds who do the short selling are now losing big time. Like, we do not probably even grasp the scope of how much money these bigwigs have lost on GameStop alone, just because they made the logical prediction that GameStop wasn't going to be around in a couple of years, and they predicted it would fail. I mean, look, I'd take that bet. I'm glad I didn't, because I'd lose a lot of money, but and look, GameStop might still fail. Could be a very temporary thing, because here's the thing. You start seeing posts on the Reddit that people are making these bets on, and they're showing screenshots like, I gained $5,000 today. One guy gained over $700,000 in one day, primarily buying GameStop stock, and his portfolio is worth $1 million. Well, what happens when a bunch of those people actually start having $1 million piggy banks? They're going to sell that stock, and it's going to crash. So again, not financial advice. Speak to a financial advisor, but keep in mind, you are playing with fire. This is literally stock poker right now. This is not investing in the traditional sense. Traditional investing is buying stock and sitting on it for 5 years, and hopefully it doubles or triples in 3 years' time. All the while, it collects you dividends so that you may make investments either back into the company or into other companies. That's how this traditionally works. But basically, the internet found a way to screw with the markets, and they're doing so. And here's what's going to be very interesting, because I think this will result in legislation. I just don't know what legislation it would be. Like right now, when it comes to the stock market, there is some illegal things you can do on the stock market, most notably inside trading. And what inside trading is when somebody calls someone and they say, hey, buy as much stock as you can. We're about to make this deal, and the stock is going to go way up when we make this deal. Or someone else calls someone else and says, hey, you might want to sell your stock right now because some bad news is going to hit tomorrow or in a couple days, and the stock is going to tank, so you better get out of there. One of the great example of this, Enron. They were telling people the company was fine. Buy as much Enron stock as you can. They were telling their employees, buy as much Enron stock as you can. They boosted the stock price, and then all the executives cashed out. And then we started hearing announcements that, they were actually heavily into debt. Their projects did not turn the money that they said, and that they were cooking the books. And so that's, for example, an explanation of inside trading. By the way, the Oliver Stone movie Wall Street, where Michael Douglas gives an Academy Award-winning performance, is also about this very thing. So if anyone wants some fun homework, Wall Street. Sequel's not too bad either. Anyway, so that's insider trading, but this isn't necessarily insider trading. This is a bunch of kids, really, getting on a Reddit and all basically picking companies whose stocks are cheap and saying, buy as much stock as you can. We're all going to commit to this, and we're going to drive the stock price up. They're also, by the way, targeting people who have bet against this company, so they make a lot of money while they cost the investors millions, if not billions of dollars. By the way, I am also adding in this little extra thing that I forgot to mention before, but if people are buying these stocks, but then they sell them all a week later, and GameStop goes up to $400, but then goes right back down to being a $10 stock, it's ultimately also hurting the very companies that people are trying to help by buying the stock. So there's that to consider as well. So on one hand, I think that's kind of genius. Like, that's one of the sweetest forms of revenge I can think of. I mean, it kind of shows that Wall Street can, in some ways, be a scam. And that's probably good to highlight just how manipulative the market is. But now that we know this, what goes next? Because here's the bottom line. there are hedge funds that are losing millions and billions of dollars. Now, we might not care so much about that, but what about the guy who, let's say that the guy sees AMC, for example. Let's go here. Doing this business, and he sees, okay, it got up to $22. It is at $15 now. A week ago, it was down here. That's a huge jump. You know what? Hey, look, Apptrepreneur has just gained $1,000 in a day. Or pretty much $1,000, and off of very little investment. Maybe I'm going to now take my life savings and I'm going to put it into this, and hey, if this thing gets to be $30 tomorrow, then I've doubled my money easily. That is definitely a gamble, and it's a gamble you may or may not win, and that's where this can start getting to be a little concerning. What happens when the everyday people start getting screwed? Well, when the everyday people start getting screwed, nothing will happen because government doesn't care about that. Biden, yeah, he doesn't care about the lower class people. Frankly, Trump didn't care about the lower class people. But if you are a hedge fund manager, if you are a millionaire, a billionaire, and you've just lost on a huge game of chicken, basically, with a bunch of Twitter users, I mean, heck, there's even a site called Stocks out there. They're going to be getting in on this too. Well, then they're going to go and they're going to call for regulation. Now, what would sensible regulation to me look like? Well, here's the thing. You can't actually make it illegal to discuss buying stocks online. You just can't. And it's already illegal for someone like me to say, buy AMC Entertainment, it's going to go high. And I mean, look, I have 17,000 subscribers. I do, or close to it. I have a little bit of influence. So it's already illegal if someone with influence to basically say, buy this product, it's going to make you filthy rich, because I don't know that. And for all that matter, if I had like 10 million subscribers and I did that and I saw the stock go up, then I'm selling my stock. That's how cryptocurrency scams happen. And that is illegal. It's hard to actually make people accountable, but that is illegal. But if someone's just outright talking about, hey, let's all go and let's all buy this stock, and they're not influencers, there's just random people on the internet, that's not illegal. And you can't muzzle people and say they can't talk about the stock market at all, because then you'd have to be like, well, then how do you get advice about any of this? Do you have to go to a hedge fund to get this advice? I mean, that kind of gives them a monopoly. If there was a change that was going to happen as a result of this might bring the end of short selling. Because you know what? If there's no short selling, and there's basically no 1% to get back at for making money off companies going bankrupt, then this revenge stock buying thing pretty much comes to an end. Still, people can still... They figured it out. They figured out the trick. Find a low company, pick the company for the week, drive it up as much as you can. Whoever gets in at the end gets screwed completely on this. But the people who started it, hey, they made out. But then what's going to happen when everyone else figures it out? Everyone's going to want to start their thing, and who gets the ball rolling? Because once the ball is rolling, as you can see, it's pretty epic. It's pretty hard to stop. I don't know if AMC is going to tank tomorrow, by the way. I'm hoping it keeps going up, but who knows? Maybe I should have sold at 25. That would have been a good profit. Anyway, so yeah, this whole thing has now caught the attention of the White House. We're going to have to see what happens. And keep an eye on GameStop, because depending on what happens to them will probably depend what happens with the regulators. And again, we have a complete Democrat-controlled government now, President, House, and Senate. So basically, if the Democrats decide they want to put an end to this, there's no stopping them. Whatever they want goes at this point. So if they decide to make a change, hope that it doesn't hurt you too much, I suppose. By the way, this is also why I don't like it when Republicans completely control the House, Senate, and presidency. But that's a topic for another day. I would like to know, though, what do you think about this? Do you agree that the White House should have a say in this? Or do you think the White House is just protecting their rich, croony donors? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.